welcome to Sportsnite. This is actually our last episode of the season, and Connor and I are seniors, so we're having our senior segment send-off.
That's well said. It's pretty bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's the end of the road, but I'm glad to be here. Glad to have you right here to talk about some of our best memories.
Yeah. So Connor, do you remember your first episode of Sportsnite?
My first episode of Sportsnite, I definitely did not want to get too involved. I was very nervous walking in here. There were a lot of upperclassmen involved with the show, going on to bigger and better places like ESPN and the likes of Fox Sports. So I was nervous. I decided, hey, I'm going to sit in the back control room, shadow a little bit, see what this graphics position is, see what the audio guy's doing over there in the corner. Didn't really want to step in too much. So I laid low in my first segment, and that's really what I remember. But I started learning, I think, in that moment and really fell in love with what the show was. It was a long show, about 40 minutes long, run exactly like SportsCenter. And
It's changed a little bit.
It has changed a little bit. What do you remember about your first episode?
My first episode, well, I started second semester. And I had a little different experience because I got here and they're like, you want to do audio? It's like, sure, why not? So I jumped right in.
Yeah.
And I'm better off for it.
Yeah.
They were great people. Every year has been so fun.
And it's not too challenging, not too overwhelming. We've got great support here from everybody who can. There's always someone happy to show you how to do a role, and that's really one of my favorite things about Sportsnite. Let's go into the second question. What is your favorite Sportsnite highlight or memory? What sticks out to you when you think back about Sportsnite down the road? What shows will you remember?
I don't think there's a specific segment that stands out to me. It's more the people that I've been able to meet with Sportsnite. I would say probably the huddle after every episode, or in the beginning, going around and saying, like, there's always a sports question, like, what's your favorite jersey that you own, or something like that. That's probably my favorite memory, just being with the people. What about you?
Yeah, that's a good point, though. We've had some great Sportsnite traditions, huddling around before the show, getting to know everyone, what position they're going to be on, and it's a little behind-the-scenes look, I guess, but asking a question that's kind of sports-related. And I like that huddle at the end where we get to mention an unsung hero for the day and an MVP. That's a really special feature. I'm going to remember my first episode where I was on air, and I was really nervous. I wanted to do a good job, and it was a Super Bowl segment, so this would have been February of my freshman year. I didn't get on for a couple months, but I was going to be analyzing prop bets with Ben Myers, and I was terrified. Ben was probably the most senior member of the show, so I did tons of research on Gatorade colors, anthem singers, halftime show singers, and I spewed some facts that day. So I was pretty pleased with the job that I did, and I think it kind of just took off from there. So that was one of the best memories. We also did a Super Bowl segment. The Super Bowl ones, I guess, keep sticking out. In 2017, 2 years ago, I was a sophomore, and we did a food bracket. And the idea was, like, what is your favorite food? Were you there?
I was there for that one.
We had Leo Blavin on, the tech director, and he just kept running through these scenes of guys eating, like, cheeseburgers, mac and cheese, hoagies. It was a riot.
That was a crazy episode.
Yeah, and we ran with it, and we had a good time. And I just remember sitting back in the control room and cracking up through that. So.
Yeah, we've had some great times here, but behind the scenes, what are your least favorite positions to do? Everybody has them. Yeah,
my least favorite crew positions. Audio can get a little bit hairy, especially if you're in a segment and then all of a sudden, like, someone starts speaking a little bit quieter and you can't hear what they're saying, and then Rob has to come over and help you out and boost your level a little bit so that you can actually hear what's going on. I don't like that. There's some pressure there. I would say that I like all the positions, really, but that's one that's stressful. I don't like when the teleprompter person isn't on the same page as the person reading. I think that's like one of the unsung aspects of this business, this broadcasting thing, is that if someone's off timing, then the whole thing's shot.
Kind of got to think on your feet a little bit.
What about you? What's your least favorite?
Well, speaking of teleprompter, my least favorite was teleprompter back before our new system, back when you had to press, like, the space bar and the up and down buttons. I don't even remember. All I know is I think it was my second episode I ever did. I got way off track, and Ben Myers had to come and fix it. It It was a little scary.
Yeah.
Now it's much better. I don't mind any position, honestly, at this point, but that teleprompter was a thing of my nightmares back in the day.
that was a good time. All right, now we've done this segment of Wolverine of the Week in the past. This year we brought out Wolverine of the Year, but there's been some tremendous student athletes in our 4 years here. Who's the one that you're going to remember the most, maybe, as you move forward? Who's your Wolverine of your Michigan career?
Well, I mean, there's so many, but there's one that stands out to me. He was only here for 1 year, Kyle Connor. I'm a huge Michigan hockey fan. I mean, that was our freshman year, so 2015, 2016. He had an amazing season. He had over 71 points, 35 goals. Pretty sure he's Big Ten Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year for sure. And he was a 2016 Hobie Baker Award finalist. And his line, Comfort, Mott, and him, they just really, I'm starstruck by them still. And he's killing it in the NHL. I mean, Winnipeg just got knocked off.
Yeah.
But he had a great season with them. So I would say he was my Wolverine of the career. Even in his short time here, he made a big impact. What about you?
Yeah, that hockey team was something else. My Wolverine of the Year is someone who I kept reading their name when we were doing stories, and they were always in the news. And it's Siobhan Haughey of Michigan Swimming. She was the Wolverine of the Year. Last week we announced that. But she is a 14-time All-American swimming. Absolutely incredible. She qualified recently for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics in the pool. And really just a name that is pretty tricky. If you see the spelling of it, it's like Siobhan, but it's pronounced Siobhan Haughey. And so you always remember those names that kind of tripped you up at first. And I know when I read it the first time, I was like, what the heck? How am I going to get this? But I've started to learn it through my time, and she's definitely my Wolverine of the Year. Absolutely tremendous academic student, too. She's won some awards for that. So that'll be a name that I remember.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you appreciated swimming. As a former swimmer, you don't get that much recognition. But what would you say is the most underrated sport here at Michigan?
Underrated sport. I'm going to go with one that's on the rise, and it's lacrosse. The women's lacrosse team is doing phenomenal this year. I think they had an almost undefeated, maybe an undefeated record at home. They built this new stadium for them out on State Street, and it is beautiful. I encourage anyone to go check out a game there at the lacrosse stadium. The men's team is also working very hard, and they're on the rise. And club lacrosse is a sport here, too, that they won the national championship last year. And you can sometimes go check out their games. They play in the building behind the baseball fields. So I've seen a little bit of lacrosse in my time, and I think it's an underrated event. It's something from the East Coast that's starting to spread to the Midwest.
Yeah, I enjoy watching lacrosse games. But for me, I would say the most underrated sport is wrestling. I didn't realize it until I came here, but I love watching it.
Yeah.
It's super exciting.
Yeah.
At first, you don't really know what's going on. But, I mean, Michigan has a strong wrestling team. That last year, he's not on the team anymore, but he was like a silver medalist. Adam Kuhn was here, the heavyweight. But this year, I mean, they have they have Massa, they have the Amin brothers, they have Stevan Micic. They just have so much talent on that team, and it's just an exciting sport. I mean, go to a wrestling match. That's all I tell you.
And there's some great rivalries, too. I think those elite wrestlers, they all know each other. The Penn State team is always terrific. So you get some fun matchups, some rivals, even with Ohio State, and the crowd can really get into it. And
yeah, I mean, I got into it. The matches I went to, they're definitely called matches, not games.
All right, so we've had tremendous ups and downs, I'd say, throughout our time here with the Michigan sports programs. What was your greatest moment in Michigan sports? What was your lowest moment as we reflect on some of the games?
I mean, there's been a lot of great moments. I think we've had a great 4 years of athletics here.
Yes. Yep.
I would say the one that came to my mind first would be last year in the NCAA tournament. Jordan Poole's buzzer beater against Houston to go into the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I think that was just a crazy moment. That's something I still get like goosebumps thinking about. I mean, I'm sure you can relate.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody freaked out when that happened.
I thought it was over
I freaked
before.
out. Yes. And just so much excitement. And I mean, and then also at the same time, Michigan was in the Frozen Four. So Final Four and Frozen Four last season. I was a happy Wolverine. What about you?
Happiest had to be that same run, but when we beat Loyola Chicago, we were down throughout the game, and everyone thought the Sister Jean curse was still going on, still existed. But Michigan came back in the second half, won the game, and then it was a mad dash to South U, and everyone was partying it up outside Charlie's. outside Jug at South U, and that was something that I'll remember for a long time. It was the day before Easter, and it was just an absolute blast. And you made a good point that the football, like none of us mentioned the football team. It's a big part of school here at Michigan, but I remember coming in my freshman year and everyone said, you are so lucky that Jim Harbaugh is the coach. We had to suffer through some really bad years of Michigan football. So I am grateful that we did see a really competitive team, even if they didn't get quite to the playoff where we had hoped a little bit.
I mean, speaking of like a low point, I'd say starting off freshman year, 2015, that Michigan State game, the last 10 seconds, I have never heard 110,000 people be silent in a second. That was a moment that I think really started off like my passion for Michigan sports. I think not passion for Michigan sports, but Michigan football and being so invested in it was like, did that really just happen?
Yeah.
So I would say that was a low, but we've definitely moved on from there as fans. And the team has moved on. So
yeah, that's my lowest point. We'll remember that one forever, I think. I remember just watching it, and right when Michigan State recovered the ball, you're like, oh well. we lost. Like,
what?
how? And I dropped to my knees and just stayed still for like 5 to 10 minutes after the game. I remember people left before to like try and go celebrate, and they were thinking about back to like when the Miami Heat came back in Game 6. Someone said that vividly. Don't leave early. Don't leave early, and it cost those people. So I received a lot of texts that night from people that I never heard from, like, holy cow, like, do you see that? And if you know a good sports fan, you don't text them right in the wake of something brutal like that. You let them simmer down a little bit. So I shut my phone off that night, and that was one of the worst moments, I'd say.
That was smart. I kept getting texts from my friends who went to Michigan State. I should have shut off my phone. I didn't.
Thankfully, I'm out of state. I didn't have to deal with that, and I know a lot of others did.
Yeah.
All right, last question. What are you going to miss most about the University of Michigan, the school as a whole? I know you're involved in a lot of different things here at the university. What's going to be something that you'll miss?
Well, short answer, everything. Long answer, I would say everybody I've met has been so amazing, but the student organizations I've been a part of, so WOLV TV, whether it's Sportsnite or eBuzz, I've just met so many people and learned so much. I also do BTN, so I mean, I've learned a lot through that. That's been super fun. I'm going to miss that. But I think just the overall experience, I think there's a feeling of going into the big house, the first game of the season. There's so much excitement because you don't know what the season's going to bring. I think that's what I'm going to miss the most, is being in the big house in the student section, just living, just enjoying it. Hearing James Earl Jones's voice, I'm going to miss that.
The pump-up videos. Every year seems fresh. You hit it right on the nose. I'm going to miss the different organizations. I mean, I have a lot of friends from the business school. I have a lot of friends from WOLV TV. I have a lot of friends from Sport Business Association. And you kind of get to have these different experiences, share them with these people. So it's going to be tough transitioning away from that. But thankfully, I know I'll still be in touch with a lot of them. And I'll just miss this combination of like city and campus, Ann Arbor. It's like no other place in the world. So that's really, really going to be my biggest memory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to miss Ann Arbor so much, but I'm sure I'm going to visit. I'm sure you're going to visit too, as much as you can. But, I mean, 4 years, had a lot of memories. We lived it up. So,
Hayley, I'd like to do one more thing if I could, which is announce some of the members of the WOLV TV family, or Sportsnite family even, that really kind of helped us get where we are today. Some old names and faces. I just think it would be cool to kind of reflect. If you have anything to add in, you can. But first, I want to thank the WOLV TV board, and they know who they are. They've really made this show, allowed us to film every week and have a great time with it. The sports director this year, Jack Clegg, did an awesome job of working with us and helping us find a good time slot for the show. But looking back, my freshman year, there was the original Sportsnite Ben Myers, who we mentioned already.
Megan Vaselli,
who's having a tremendous career, I know, right now in broadcasting. Riley Nelson was my mentor. When I wrote my first story, I sent it off to her. I was like, "Oh, is this gonna cut it on the prompter?" And she sent me back with some suggestions. So that was really special for me. Jack Springgate, just tremendous. He's also doing great things in North Dakota. Very into the show, very charismatic person. Matthew Kipnis was another one.
Kipnis,
I didn't meet him until later because he was abroad, I think, when I started out, but came back, had some fun ideas for the show. His hardball temper tantrum video is off the charts here. Got a lot of YouTube views on that one. Leo Blavin and Danny Ryan, they were quite the bunch. Fun guys, always great debaters, analysts. We're running out of time, but I went to my freshman year after the WOLVs. We went out to Circus. I sang some Mr. Brightside karaoke with them.
The go-to karaoke song, yeah?
Yeah, it was quite the time. Also tried to get into Rick's for the first time. Didn't happen, which was probably a good thing. Last year's producers, Jordan Shapiro, Oliver Moody, Liza Kraft, did a great job and really, really kept the show running. And I'm so pleased with where the show is headed now. It's in great hands. Akshay Luthra, Sievert Glarum, Vanessa Litchard, Austin Bryan. I wish them the best of luck. I can't wait to see where Sportsnite is going. But Hayley, it's been a great run.
Yeah, it really has. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, sorry.
We've done a lot of
glad I
segments
could get that out there. But
No. I mean, you named everybody I was going to name. Everybody who's been a crew member since the beginning has really helped us out and has really made the show so great. And another one I want to mention is you, the audience. Thanks for watching us. Thanks for always being there for us. We wouldn't be here without you.
So from all of us here at Studio A, signing off one last time, have a great sports night.